222, this is today's 830 WCCO. Al Franken is my guest. He's running for the U.S. Senate. Everybody knows that. You are down. Your numbers are less than at least where Norm Coleman's were the last poll that I saw.
Right.
What is it that people don't get? What is it that they don't understand about you? Because if you had everything in front of them, you should win. At least you got to
well,
have that feeling.
That.
No, I'm not suggesting it's true. I'm suggesting you must think it's true, or you shouldn't run.
Oh no! I believe going around the state, people want change, and Norm Coleman is not a change agent here. He wants to stay the course on the war. He wants to stay the course on the economy. He wants us to continue to be an oil energy, energy policy for and by the oil companies, health care for and by the pharmaceuticals and the insurance companies. So no, I'm going to win this. I'm going to win this because people want to change, and this is where I Washington, and we'll just start to lay out Norm Coleman's record.
Well, in the end, though, if anybody understands change, Norm Coleman understands change. Come on. Norm Coleman learned how to change in '97.
No, but that's
and
not
2000 and 2001 and 2000. No, he literally is whatever you need him to be at the time that he wants you to be.
And that doesn't give you change. That gives you someone who is spineless, and he
is he spineless?
Yes, he introduces legislation every time an issue comes up that is just a press release, and it never goes anywhere. When Dubai Ports was trying to get into, to buy several of our ports, or to do the work at our ports, he came up with a piece of legislation to ban foreign countries from operating our ports. That went nowhere. When it came up in the debates that illegal or undocumented immigrants were having driver's license in some states, he introduced a bill to ban that. But none of these bills pass. And now he's introducing a bill about drilling on the off the continental shelf, or on the outer continental shelf, and it's not a real solution. And so spinelessness is not really a great way to get change. It takes a little bit of courage to change, and it takes standing up to the special interests. And Norm Coleman has worked out a little deal. He plays a little game, and what his game is he goes to Washington. He gets hundreds of thousands of dollars from these special interests. He votes their way. He gives special handouts to them, to the oil companies, to the insurance companies. And then he comes back here and pretends it didn't happen. And everybody wins except for the people of Minnesota. And people in Minnesota, what they care about, and what this election is going to be about, is educating your kids. It's about our economy, which means that you have to invest in education, you have to invest in research and development, you have to invest in infrastructure. Those are the three things that lead to prosperity, and always have. It means changing the culture in Washington. And that's why in my latest ad I just said, you know what, members of Congress, they argue about whether it should be 1 or 2 years before they can become lobbyists. How about they just never become lobbyists? You go to Congress, you just can't be a lobbyist. And the reason for that is there's just this revolving door. And the perfect example is Billy Tozan, who was the chairman of the Commerce Committee when Medicare Part D passed. He, the next year, got a job lobbying for Big Pharma, $2 million a year. So, look, Norm, you're so right about Norm Coleman as a person who just changes who he is all the time. He has characterized himself throughout his career as the following: a progressive Democrat, a moderate Democrat, a conservative Democrat, a progressive Republican, a moderate Republican, and a conservative Republican. That's everything.
That means he gets everybody, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that
now he's a moderate. And Tip O'Neill used to have a phrase for moderates like him. They're always there when you don't need them.
One last question. I recall having Harry Reid on the program, and I said, the Democrats were given both the House and the Senate majorities because the American people wanted us out of Iraq. And they have never passed a bill, not one that went to this president that said, okay, veto it, fine, disagree with us, but do something. Why don't we get that bill?
They passed one bill. They passed one bill that had a timetable, and it was vetoed, and then they didn't pass it again. And
you mentioned spineless. What's that? If that's not spineless, I don't know what is, and that's a Democrats being spineless.
Well, we have the majority in the Senate by the skin of Joe Lieberman's teeth. Joe Lieberman is 51, and he supports the war. Now, we have some Republicans like Hagel and some others who are on our side, but you got to get the 60 votes. So what's happened since is that Republicans have filibustered this bill. So, you know, I have said that you've got to have a timetable and fund the troops, but that if you veto it, then you're cutting off funding for the troops.
Al, I know you'll come back and join me again in the future.
I'd love to.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming in. Al Franken, he's running for the U.S. Senate right here in Minnesota. Stay with us.